Is Guillaume. I'm an ATC trainee at Aix-en-Provence ACC, and today I'm going to talk to you about the air traffic flow and capacity management, or how to deal with an overflowing sky. During this presentation, I will first go through a short introduction so that you can better understand what is air traffic flow and capacity management. We'll then have a look on the history of flow management, how it started. Then I will explain to you how it works, and I will finally conclude on the perspective of. So first, do you know what is a flow?
No.
A flow
Yes.
is an axis between two specific cities or two specific areas along which many aircraft are flying. For example, in Aix, one of the main flows we have to cope with is all the German aircraft flying from Germany and going to the Balearic Islands. This is one of the main flows that impacts all other sectors. So, ATFCM has three main objectives. The first one is obviously the safety, since having a lot of aircraft in a reduced airspace make the controller's job more difficult. Then it comes the efficiency, since usually this is the worst thing that could happen to a company, having a lot of delays. So we're trying to stay efficient by applying minimum delays to those companies. And the last objective, but not the least, the economical objective and the environmental objective. Since there again, having an aircraft waiting on the ground is more economical than having him waiting in the air, since you won't burn as much fuel as if it was flying. So in that way, it's economical for the company and environmental. Now I would like to draw your attention on this graph, since I think it's a good illustration of the reason for the necessity of air traffic flow and capacity management. Indeed, despite a few drops during the 90s because of the Gulf War and in 2001 because of September the 11th, we can see here that we have now reached an incredible amount of flights, and this is the main reason why we need flow and flow management. So it first started in France in 1972 with the creation of the Cell for Organization and Regulation of Air Traffic. And then it became European with the creation of the Central Flow Management Unit, located in Brussels and working under the authority of the European agency Eurocontrol. Let's move on and see how ATFCM works. It works in three phases. The strategic phase, which can start up to 18 months before the day we are looking at. Then comes the pre-tactical phase, which usually starts 6 days before D-Day. And finally the tactical phase, which is a real-time phase on D-Day. So let's see what the strategic phase is about. It consists of predicting the traffic demand up to 1.5 years in advance. We can use for this statistics, but we also evaluate the capacity provided by the air navigation service providers. As a result for this phase, you mainly have structural modification, like the creation of new routes or the modification of the shape of sectors. You can also have measures like city pairs, which make mandatory flight level. Well, usually it capped cruising level between two specific airports. For example, in Aix, aircraft flying from Marseille to Paris-Orly can't fly above flight level 320. And another result for this phase could be rerouting, which in that case make mandatory the routes between two specific airports. Then comes the pre-tactical phase, which consists of refining the original forecast. So when you're looking at D-Day, for that phase, we are taking into account the traffic demand we had on the same day the week before. And except on specific occasions like Cannes Festival or Christmas Eve, for those specific days when since the traffic demand is much more different as usual, we use the same day of the year before. Consequently, we have, by the end of this phase, by the end of this phase, the flow management controller will determine what will be the best configuration for the control room, how the sectors will be combined or split, so that you can cope with the traffic more easily. The flow management controller will also have to negotiate with the military to decide which military areas will be activated or not. Since obviously having a big military area, which usually is not, doesn't allow civilian aircraft inside, impacts the capacity of your sector. And as a result for this phase, will be published what we call the airspace use plan, as well as the list of ATFCM measures. And in the airspace use plan, the pilots are provided information about the routes they will be able to take for their flight. Here comes the tactical phase, which is a real-time job. So during D-Day, the flow management controller has to take advantage of any opportunity to keep the traffic as fluid as possible, since many factors can influence badly, sometimes in a good way, but more often badly, the plan we had, the controller FMP had set up. Indeed, having, for example, infrastructure limitations like an aircraft stuck on a runway, which makes it obviously unusable, we'll have to, the controllers will have to make all the aircraft wait, and this impacts the traffic load on approach sectors, for example. So that's why the flow management controller has to take benefit of any opportunity. To conclude, I would say that the flow management requires continuous adaptation, since flows are impacted by what could happen in everyday life, and especially could be worldwide or at least what happened around the world in Europe. Since airlines usually adapt their policies depending on the economical situation. During the crisis, for example, the number of flights has significantly decreased. And flow management controllers also have to adapt to changes in policies for airlines like Ryanair, for example, which usually fly to remoted airports, remoted and cheaper airports. So that makes some sectors more crowded than before, since usually those airports were not used for commercial flights. And I call ATFCM a necessary evil, since airlines usually see it as a generator of delays, whereas it's made for their own safety. So there is always a struggle between flow management controllers and the airlines trying to bypass all the measures taken for them, applied to them. And since air traffic flow and capacity management is only made at a European scale, meaning that transatlantic flights or flights coming from Asia or Africa are not taken into account, this could still be improved by doing it at a global scale. So now, if you have any question, I'll be happy to answer.
Okay. Jolly good.